Okay, and we are back. So 2:20, and our next session is going to be led by Michelle Pliskin, who leads our industry team for retail and e-commerce. So Michelle's going to lead a panel discussion with some great brands and talk about innovation and thought leadership. So Michelle, I will kick it over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Pat. Hi, everyone. Very, very great to be here. We have a panel today to really write innovation and thought leadership, a very broad topic. We culled it down to make it pretty applicable to kind of this whole current situation that we're in. And also we're going to be talking about a few different cool initiatives just within the analytics industry. And I can say cool with confidence here since we are all on an analytics summit. So I know that everyone's going to enjoy what we'll discuss. Before we do jump in, we're just going to do a quick round of intros. So like Pat mentioned, my name is Michelle Pliskin, and I am industry team lead at InfoTrust for 20 of our e-commerce and retail clients. Super excited to be here with all of these really and just advanced brands. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Brent to say a quick hello.
Hey, thanks, Michelle. Hey, everyone. Brent Walker, Associate Manager of e-Business at Whitecap. I lead our digital advertising and SEO initiatives here. Very involved in analytics and online attribution as well. Excited to be here.
How about Ramesh?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ramesh Sundram. I am the head of BI and analytics at SPANX. That means responsibilities for all the way from data architecture, reporting and analytics, and some machine learning and data science projects as well. So excited to be here, eager to learn about from some of the other panelists here.
Cool. James.
Good afternoon. My name is James Alexander. I work at Estée Lauder Companies Online, where I head up e-commerce analytics and retention initiatives across all of our direct-to-consumer brand.com experiences. So that's over 300 sites from MAC to our tiny, small and mighty fragrance portfolio. So a broad spectrum of prestige brands.
Cool. Venkat, want to round us out?
Hi, hey, thanks InfoTrust, Michelle, thanks panel members. My name is Venkat Rajamohan. I'm the Director of E-commerce Analytics at Tailored Brands. It's the parent company of both Men's Warehouse, Joseph A. Bank, K&G stores out in the East Coast, and the Moods brand in Canada.
Okay, so get into our first topic of conversation. So in general, how did 2020 and the year that was impact what you decided that the analytics initiatives your organization should focus on in 2021 should be? What are some of your takeaways and just shifts going into this year?
So since I'm on mute, let me start. So yeah, 2020 was a different kind of year. I always compare that to the whole Y2K, remember the whole drama that happened, that everything's going to fall apart. So something to that effect, what happened in 2020, we had a big store presence, and we had to literally move because of the store closing, come to a e-commerce kind of environment, and all our sales shifted to this environment. So first thing first, we had to streamline our operations so that we can fulfill more stuff from the e-commerce side. So we have to get the entire customer, the funnel, the entire analytics lined up, and prepare all our exec reports so that they can get the e-commerce flavor of what's going on. And I feel that with all due respect to the COVID itself, it should have happened a little bit earlier, so we could have all jumped on the e-commerce bandwagon sooner than later, and we all be the Amazons of the world today. But having said that, I do definitely feel that COVID has kind of taken our digital planning at least 2-3 years prior. to what's supposed to happen.
I can go next. Look, I think what is it? It's 2021 now. We've been talking digital for so long. Digital, more mobile, more digital, more data. We've got more choices for the customers. Now, more choices naturally means less loyalty. And look, all COVID has done is been an accelerant. Every company that has been thinking digital, making small investments on a yearly basis, said, you know what, forget about all of that. I'm going to go all in. So that's sort of, the transformation has been in the making for many of us, and it's just like expedited with COVID. I'd say on a day-to-day basis, I'd say a lot of what Venkat was saying is true for many companies. Nobody's, is not seeing the attention that we're getting all of a sudden with digital reports. But what I would say is like how the role of analytics organization has changed. We're a lot more integrated with the rest of the company, not just, our focus has always been on delivering decision support and growth. But now we got skin in the game, a lot more skin in the game as far as success of the company goes. And I'd say, that often means we're doubling down on our initiatives with respect to analytics that comes from infrastructure to picking and choosing like good data science projects that are impactful. Like let's not try to do everything and just really be thoughtful about what will drive growth. I think that's been a big change for us.
Yeah, and I can go next, but Ramesh and Venkat, I agree. Not to sound redundant, but this has been a major catalyst as far as digital investment is concerned. So regardless, we were on track to do these things, but now the roadmap has been shortened a bit. So just considering things like, one thing I was thinking of is Google's automation in 2020. I would imagine it would be better this past year than it has before. So leaning into more automation, definitely considering that. Also thinking ahead, and Michelle, I don't know if we're quite there yet, but we're definitely considering, as organizations always should, being more cost conscious. This increased competition could lead to, higher prices, possibly CPAs going up. So just a few things to consider, but we're definitely focused on, using analytics to inform marketing from a personalization and audience segmentation perspective, just staying as close to our customers as possible continues to be important now more than ever, maybe. Improving site functionality, optimizing UI, UX, other technical issues. And Venkat, I know you're leading omni-channel behavior, obviously interested in that, any interactions between our channels.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big believer in COVID hasn't changed a lot of our strategies, and I think you've heard that from some of the other people on this panel, but it has been an accelerant. So, here at Estée Lauder, we consider ourselves to be leaders in online. I think, shout out to my Clinique colleagues, the first Clinique website launched in the late 90s. So we've been doing e-commerce for quite a while. But for so many years, we've been allowed to kind of be online and are kind of over there and do online over there, direct to consumer. And so for me, the biggest effect of that accelerant has been how much focus there is on online data and the opportunity to help upskill the rest of the organization on the way we look at certain KPIs, the data that we have that can inform offline or omni-channel initiatives. And so that's been a big focus for us. And then beyond that, it's been, accelerating our pre-existing roadmap of increasing the attractiveness of our websites as places to experience the brand as well as shop, to connect offline to stores and to create profiles and tell us a little bit about your preferences as a consumer and provide personalized experiences.
Yeah, so when it comes to, and we're all saying like the same thing here, right? A lot of emphasis on digital. Like, what were some of those, shifts internally, like that you did see as far as more emphasis on like the digital data? It would be cool just to go a little deeper into that, just in some of like your organizational mindsets changes that you did experience?
Sure, I can start. So Whitecap is no stranger to being nimble and adapting. So I think it was definitely an example of where an organization needs to be responsive to black swan or fast market shifts. So black swan events, meaning, kind of random changes in the market. So yeah, I think we were successful in, expediting a lot of initiatives in digital, and yeah, that's where all the demand was. So we saw, and this data comes from Google, from March to, I believe, May, there was an industry shift 70% up from where it was. And even after it corrected and kind of stabilized a little bit, we're still 50% up year over year for the industry. And that's that's data from Google for this industry. So yeah, it's definitely not going away. And like I mentioned before, and the panelists mentioned as well, there's so much involvement in digital now.
I'd definitely like to build on that. I think one of the things we know that more consumers are now shopping digital, which means that we have more opportunities to be relevant, frankly, and provide an experience that's useful. So that personalization at scale is still a work in progress for many of us. I would say that that does present sort of the other side of the equation. You've got to be agile to deliver a customized experience, but with agility, you need governance also. So our focus has been around governed agility. How do we react faster, but at the same time be responsible with the changes and not just go, get on the latest platform and figure out how to make it work. There are certain initiatives that's similar to that, but at the same time, we are committing ourselves internally to say we're going to be responsible and how to go about in a sort of formal way, determine what the best solution for us while providing the agility that the team needs. And yes, agility is important. That becomes, you've got so much data, so many channels to market in, so many options. So I keep reminding my team about the maxim, data does not equals facts. And you've got to adopt that mindset. Just because you saw in a digital report on a dashboard, that doesn't mean that's exactly what's happening in the field. So data collection and accuracy, the quality of the data is just as important as being responsive, being fast. So that we're taking a more pragmatic approach where we want to be agile, but at the same time be very, very thoughtful about the key metrics that we want to focus on. And one of the metrics is really been focusing on incrementality on any of the investments we make.
Yeah, I think beauty is historically a retention business, right? So I don't know that this is necessarily true today, but kind of you think of you get her with that one, moisturizer and she buys it forever. So one of the questions that we're asking ourselves in kind of this new normal is, how is she, if so many people when stores were closed came and bought on one of our websites because she couldn't get a department store or her local Mac store was closed, how efficient are we at bringing her back to site and to continuing to engage with us and deliver an ROI positive experience? So that's something that my team is focused on, and we talk not just about media efficiency, but also the site experience itself and making that a rich experience with things like virtual try-ons and store appointments, virtual live streamings that she can experience on the site itself. And that's a big part of our strategy, which has been for years, but is increasingly more important, as well as enriching that data about her user profile, whether it's through an offline profile or a loyalty program as well. So those are just a lot of the focus of our teams and what that means in terms of where we shift our dollars and resources.
Yeah. Just so second to all the other panelists. So what I'm going to talk a little bit more about tailored brand itself and like the clothing retail itself. So one thing I'm sure all of you have noticed, our holiday period started like so early. So from, I think, November 1st, we were already celebrating in a holiday mood. So talking to like what Ramesh's point, like personalization. So we had a couple of things that we need to like on a tactical level deal with. Like we had like tons of like what I call no-go inventory that we need to get out of our hands. So like how do we get this clothes out to the consumers in the right way? So we put a lot of what we call the AI work behind coupon redemption and try to find out like which coupon goes best. And all these things all the decisions we are taking, it's like what do we call data-driven analytics, and all the data is like Google is kind of like the what I call the gatekeeper of all the e-com activity that's going on. Besides the fact that when we go to this omni-channel kind of paradigm, we need to get this megapixel to join this whole online offline transactions, and that's where we actually use a third-party A/B testing platform, and actually the product side of the A/B testing platform, they did actually a lot of work to join the online offline experience with respect to the customers. So yeah, so we have been accelerating very quickly to take all these digital effects and also bring some of the digital things that we learned back to the store itself. Like how does the store look like? Should we arrange the store like an online experience? There should be there a funnel in the store. So those are some of the decisions we have taken. We have come up with brand new stores that is going to cater mostly for experience rather than selling, and some of the what's it called change is permanent. So this whole COVID situation has completely made change very critical.
I want to just add one point to that. Like I know how many of you were doing measurement prior to COVID. Huge emphasis on BOPIS, right? Buy online, pick up at store. Like what happened to the customer you serviced online, and did they go to the store? We're almost like doing that in sort of reverse fashion. How did the customers that actually experienced a store in 2019 or prior, how are they behaving online? Sort of, yes, it's not the same, but it's sort of like you're now picking up the pieces from what the store left off and see how their experience has changed. So I think it's a lot of work going on in my company as well as I'm sure a lot of other places as well.
So we used to have something called reserve online pickup in store, and that actually became buy online pickup in store. And so we got this whole reserving. We wanted to get this whole reserving phenomena and move that to a buying phenomena, right? So reservation, we had its own like cancellation rates, no-show rates. Now how do we minimize that and bring the BOPIS metrics up?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to her about just like the way we think of beauty as a retention business, but also for many of our larger brands in our largest markets, also a beauty advisor focused business, right? So when stores are closed, a lot of our brands thought, how do we bring that experience online? And those are different pilots that we did around virtual online appointments. You can go to some of our websites. I don't want to mention the wrong brand, but you can go to some of our websites and schedule a virtual appointment with a beauty advisor. You can go to many of our brands in North America and view a catalog of live streaming videos as well. MAC in the United States pivoted some of our we have BOPIS, UFIS, Order Line Fulfillment. There's so many different acronyms. They pivoted that program to a Postmates delivery pilot, which we were able to launch. And so there were so many different innovations about that omni-channel experience, about bringing a rich customer experience to the site itself. Key component of that in my world is, I may not have led that initiative, that was our corporate omni-channel team, but how do we track that? How do we measure success? Whether that's engagement, actual conversions, how do we make sure that that's consistent across all of the different markets that might be launching that initiative? And then what are those kind of key insights? So for example, during the COVID period, the Latin America region is one of our people weren't wearing as much lipstick, right? So lipstick sales weren't driving the portfolio like they might have in pre-COVID. But in Latin America, we actually, they really jumped on some of these initiatives and really were able to drive a lot of color sales specifically for the MAC brand. And so, my team's been helping to consolidate some of those learnings and wins and sharing them with other regions as we think about the different consumer touchpoints that we have at our disposal.
So some of these adjustments that you have made for the 2020 / even right now, right, environment, what is your thinking on kind of what will happen to these different like new types of experiences and whatnot once we do get into, I mean, fingers crossed, the second half of 2021 when things are a bit more normal?
I can go. I think because we all framed our mindset as this is only an accelerant, a lot of that will continue to remain the same, except that the focus may be a lot more on the digital front. And also what we don't know what's going to happen, right? Like it could be people will go back to being 2019 mindset, 2019 behaviors, maybe. Or there could be another point of view where people have shifted their behavior entirely, not just in purchasing, but also in the category affinities that they've carried. So it is really, the focus, again, I can't emphasize agility is the key. You have to be ready to respond to consumer behavior. And I think to respond to consumer behavior, you need to understand consumer behavior. So our emphasis is continue to monitor consumer behavior where the preferences continue to be and pivot as fast as we can.
Yeah, and I can go next, and I agree with what Ramesh is saying, and most of what we've been saying on the panel, which is adapt to customer behavior. I think early on, there was a lot of uncertainty, but as long as you don't let it distract from your ultimate goal of, serving the customer online, whether that be, on the e-com side or converting an online visit to in-store, just finding ways to collect that data. Because, of course, we advertise to sell products and make customers aware, but we also advertise and tap into Google's data so that we have their, great customer data. And how you organize that can be pivotal to how your business makes decisions. So, yeah, still nothing has changed working backwards from the sales, but just stay dynamic.
Yeah, so I totally second them. Yeah, speed is the key. We need to be one step ahead of both the competition and in line with the customer. So the customers change. We should be like we should have all the sensors, all our automated technology that basically senses the changes in the customer tastes, and hopefully so we have with this assumption, right? If you go back into a retail, again, clothing retail world, as a YOY, year over year is a very, very critical thing. We just want to maintain the last year business and get probably a certain percentage more. So what is that last year? Is that 2020? Is that 2019? Is that 2018? Is that 2000? So we don't know that. Or is there something in the future? So yeah, we have to be one step ahead. We have to be nimble. We have to be fast. But again, like maintain all the data governance, the sanctity of the data, and go ahead and just deliver.
Yeah, and I could put a period on that maybe, but in a sense, this is a behavioral science. So we're always looking at the data from the aspect of, how are people behaving online, and can you make any sense of it? So I think the data will always tell you what the answer is, as long as, and Ramesh, this is back to you again, but just making sure there's some data integrity there to make sure, you're looking at the data the right way, and you're not looking at it vanity metrics or anything like that.
Absolutely. I think if you have a decent hypothesis from what you're observing, then naturally the only way to achieve that agility is to have a really solid test and learn agenda, right? You've got to figure out what to do next. And if two people can argue about the same data point in two different ways, well, let's have it. Let's have a testing, control testing be done, and we'll see what comes out as a winner.
Yeah, we have definitely increased our A/B testing count because, like, some of the things which were based on data from 2019, 2018, to go ahead and reprove that is still the case. The right way to do is to do a controlled experimentation platform, and we have definitely increased the count of like doing the right experience, right from the funnel analysis all the way to shipping, payment types, because we have choice today. So you can see that the current behavior of the people is like, we need it fast, we need quick gratification. So how do we be like always one step ahead to deliver that in time? So yeah.
Yeah, that is just a really interesting point to think about, the fact that, like, what do you compare, even like current behavior, right? So to kind of go deeper into some sort of A/B testing mindset where you can just look at, like, right now what is happening, and be able to do that to kind of, again, going back to efficiency plays, to make your current experience more efficient and effective. Yeah, that's really, really interesting to think about. Yeah. Well, we have a couple more minutes. Are there any parting thoughts that you want to leave the audience with? And we can kind of wrap up.
Go ahead, Ramesh.
No, please, James.
Yeah, the only thing, we're a global business, and so the really interesting thing for me, just as a person who's interested in consumers and data, has been really to look at our brands across different regions, across different categories. So I mentioned that example of lipstick in Mexico, which is something that I never would have thought, right? But there's a certain consumer that our product resonates with that was bucking the kind of prevailing trend. And so I think taking a critical eye to your data and challenging kind of the narratives that you might read about and finding those nuggets of success has been a way that we've really capitalized on certain growth initiatives and shifted learnings from Australia and brought them to the UK or brought them to North America, or really let our Asia Pacific region lead in some of these regions, some of these initiatives, as they've established a new normal much faster than other areas. So that's been really interesting to me as I've thought about where we sit in thought leadership from a data perspective moving forward.
I wish I could remember the name of the person I could give credit to this quote. I think I heard somewhere recently that post-COVID, it will become from doing to being, meaning, from doing agile to being agile, doing consumer-centric work to being consumer-centric, doing machine learning for the sake of it to actually solving business problems. So I think I'm expecting sort of like that kind of shift, this forced habit creation period of 2020, this will carry on for the rest of the life. Like, for us to be really, truly be what we want to be as opposed to just doing. So that would be my hope for the future.
I love that. Let's do that. Let's be.
Yeah, I totally agree with James, Brent, Ramesh. Yep, we are ready. We will be ready. So thank you for all the help from the partners. We are using InfoTrust for like checking our the quality of the data and Google itself. Definitely, we totally agree that we have to be we have to be agile. We have to be the whole agility should be in our DNA from going forward. So we are ready for all the changes.
Yeah, and I like where we ended up with the meta-analysis of data. That's very important, I think. And maybe a quick plug to Michelle and the InfoTrust team. Ask about ITP, because we're considering that to solve certain cookie issues. So.
Love it. Yes. Well, thank you so much, everybody. This was super, super fun. Pat, I think I see you.
Here.
You want to come in?
Yeah, thanks everyone. I tell you what, that was a well-orchestrated panel, if I have to say so. You guys are a bunch of pros. It's like you've been working together for years. So thank you, Venkat, Brent, Ramesh, James, and Michelle. Great job.